Hello YouTube. Today's presentation is going to cover the dyeing of sand colored Magpul mags for AKs. I had previously mentioned in a video when I was doing the video for this actual magazine, it turned out to be more of a fuchsia color, and I'm going to put additional lighting on here so you can kind of see the coloring. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up. Maybe that's going to be a little bit better. In any case, this is the end result from what I did about a week ago. In the previous video, it turned out more of a fruit plum that it turned out really nice. I do have a video on that. And so what I did is I took it a step further and obtained 2 additional mags and re-dyed them. Now this one does look more of a brownish color. However, keep in mind this is going to be more along the lines of what we're used to seeing in the sense of a Magpul plum, or even in the Soviet furniture plum. But keep in mind there are variations in that, and I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of a light and see if I can get it to come out. Maybe on the close-up it'll probably come out better. In any case, it is more of a brownish looking traditional Soviet plum that we're used to seeing. Now what I did with this one is I took it a step further from this previous magazine here, and I added a ½ ounce of black to it prior to adding the ½ ounce of purple. So what this consisted of was actually, I used a different set of dye setup. The dye is still red, but I used a 1 1/8 ounce packet of wine powder dye. Put that first, let the mag soak in there for about 10 minutes. It was the magazine body and the floor plate. I turned it to a really nice red similar to this, and then I added 1 ounce of purple in liquid and let it sit for about 5 minutes, and it started looking a lot like this. And then I went back and added another ounce of purple, making it slightly darker, and it started looking similar to this finish. And then prior to adding the additional final ounces of purple, I added ½ ounce of powdered black, or half a packet of powdered black into it, mixed it with the purple of ½ ounce, and again I let it sit for about roughly 3 minutes each. Again, I had to turn the sides because of the pot. However, I ended up actually achieving the Magpul type purple or plum. Again, it looks kind of sort of a chocolate color, but it is not brown. The camera may or may not pick up. So here's probably a good example where you can see it's kind of more of the plum look. Now keep in mind, plum is kind of one of those colors that depends on who sees it. But as far as the way most people are used to seeing plum, it's this. Now there is some plum magazines that I've seen where it's kind of a blend. So you might have a darker edge on the outside and a lighter color like this somewhere in the middle. A good example of that is if you look at the website for AIM Surplus. I'm going to go ahead and reference them. You'll see magazines that are kind of blended or hybrids. What they show for the 545 by 39 magazines. Also wanted to mention in this video the Bakelite type version that I did. Now this one is kind of a reddish orange, and what this one consisted of was scarlet red and cherry red. I used more of the scarlet. Now mind you, I was using a larger pot and I was trying to do 2 magazines at the same time, but it did actually take longer. It took me about an hour and a half. So if you stick to a smaller pot or container, you can do it. However, I do recommend doing it in stages, because if you don't do it in stages, you really can't monitor your progress. Now, with the fact that I've gotten this one better, the end results, I can tell you that you can do. You can go ahead and try to mix it, but I still like to monitor the progression. You can essentially mix 1 1/8 ounce of powder wine with 2½ ounces of liquid purple and ½ an ounce of powder black to achieve this finish. If you omit the black, it'll look like this. There is a video that I've seen where the gentleman ended up taking an orange looking magazine. It was a Tapco slab side, and he poured it in there and he poured black, and it wound up looking black. Well, again, keep in mind, black is a dominant color. So once you put a dominant color, the other colors may not bleed through. That's why I took it from lighter stages up and built it up. And then this one, it was kind of the same scenario because it kept coming out lighter. Now you can kind of achieve this fake-alike look. Again, you can make it your own if you monitor the progress. You can also do it with orange and red. You can do it with tan and red. You can do it however you like. But I'm happy with the end results. Again, the most important thing that you do is once you let these magazine bodies and floor plates cool after about an hour, is actually use a scouring pad to get the excess dye. With this one, it had quite a bit. I ended up having to do about 3 passes with the scouring pad and detergent, dishwashing liquid, to clean all the excess dye, and it wouldn't stain my hands any further. This one was only 1 pass. Now this one did take 2 passes. Because of the powder, you had a lot of residue that still stuck. Even though I did mix it in the pot and stirred it quite a bit, it still left quite a bit of residue on this magazine body and floor plate. More the magazine body. But again, remember, the key thing is make sure that you have your water nice and hot. Do not boil it. If you do boil it, back it off and let it cool down just a little bit, because again, the heat is what allows the dye to penetrate into the plastic, as plastics do absorb odors and dyes. As you can see, obviously this one turned out really nice, and here's where you can really see the purple plum finish more so than ever. But again, I know the camera doesn't do it much justice, and you're probably thinking, well, this is probably more like a black or a dark chocolate brown. However, when you see it in person with the camera, you're not going to necessarily pick up the true colors. I'm still planning to do the video with the Palmetto State Armory with the Plum Magpul furniture on it, and I'm going to include this magazine in that video. I just wanted to go ahead and show you with the progress report of the end result. So this was about a week ago, and then this was not even 24 hours ago, and this was a year ago when I had done this. But just keep in mind, the plastics do have to settle the dye into them, so it's not something that you're going to rush into. And again, monitor the progress of the color that you want to achieve. Remember, it will come out darker and it will lighten as it cools. So again, if you want it slightly darker, allow more time in the pot to have the heat work the dye in for you, and then let it cool down and wash it. But again, that's why I took the pieces in and out and watched the progress as I shown in the previous video. I hope this helps you out if you choose to dye your sand colored mags or even other mags. But again, remember, black is a dominant color when it comes to plastics, and it may not necessarily change colors. And in order to achieve any kind of original quote-unquote finish like Magpul or Soviet, you really have to do it in progression of monitoring your stages to see that progress. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your AKs. Thanks for the subs.